Good afternoon. This is Daniel John Lee from Torah Restoration Ministries. I had a podcast that I was planning to deliver today on this preparation day just before Shabbat, and all of a sudden Yahweh gave me a new subject to cover, a very important subject to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and be obedient and do what he tells me to do. A lot of people now are probably aware that there is news that for some strange reason President Obama is leaving the United States of America. He's taking with him 34 warships, an entourage of 3,000 top officials. This is unprecedented for any type of president to do this, particularly when we're in such economic dire straits here in the United States. A lot of people are speculating, is there going to be a false flag event? Is there going to be some sort of disaster that's going to occur in the United States, and this is why Obama is leaving? I'm not sure if that's the case or not. I do know that myself, along with a lady on our ministry intercessory prayer team, had a strong sense of spiritual upheaval earlier this week. The main thing we were led to pray for was protection, protection, protection. The feeling has since left, but then once I saw all these news stories coming out, I couldn't help thinking maybe the two events are related. Whether something happens this weekend or not, I feel like this is a great opportunity to talk about a subject that's very, very important when we're entering into a time like this, if there is a major disaster that's about to erupt, or whenever you're going through difficult times, period. And that is pleading the blood of YahShua over your life. It's extremely, extremely important. Now, we tend, as believers, as followers of Messiah, we tend to think, well, you know, if I'm obedient to his word, then everything's going to be okay. And that's true. That's true if you are obedient to his word. But part of being obedient to his word, part of being obedient to his Torah, is to recognize the very, very complete importance of the blood of YahShua. You know, all through the Torah, you have blood. You have the blood of the sacrifices. You have the blood of animals. You have the blood that Moshe sprinkled on the very book of the Torah when he gave it to the Israelites. And of course, in the Brit Hadashah, the renewed covenant, we have the blood of YahShua, which is at the center of the entire document. So blood is extremely important in obeying his word. And one thing we as believers tend to forget to do is to apply this blood to our lives. This is not a complicated idea. It's not a complicated understanding. All you have to do is plead his blood over the situations in your life, over your personal, heart, your mind and your heart, over your family members, over your friends and your loved ones, pleading the blood over different situations that you're going through. What this does is it places a spiritual hedge of protection around you. This is some sort of mystical thing, by the way. The blood of YahShua is extremely powerful. Remember, it was through the shedding of blood that there is remission of sins. It is through the fact that YahShua shed his blood that he was able to completely and totally defeat the devil at Calvary. And his resurrection power is available to all those who trust in his word and who trust in his blood. What happens when you're faced with temptation? If you're faced with, whatever type of temptation that you might be dealing with, when you plead the blood, that blood acts like an acid against the enemy. It causes the enemy to flee. What about if you're going through a difficult situation? You're having to deal with stresses that you're not exactly sure how you're going to deal with, or maybe you think you know how you're going to deal with them, but, life has a way of throwing things that you're not expecting. Pleading the blood of YahShua causes those situations to smooth out, causes you to have the words and the understandings that you need when you're dealing with people or events. Pleading the blood of YahShua acts as a protection, a daily protection for you as you're going about your day. Again, a lot of people, especially in the United States, where we tend to get very comfortable, we have money, we have food, we have everything that we could want, we have the television set and the radio and all this media, we tend to take things for granted. We tend to think that, life is pretty good, life is pretty comfortable. And yet, Americans deal with a lot of daily problems, a lot of stresses that build up over time, and that's why you have so many instances of people who, have this road rage or things like that, because they're not dealing with their stresses appropriately. The best way to deal with the stresses of life is to plead the blood of YahShua. Now, we're coming to an event right now that may or may not occur. I don't know. But I do know that what I was led to do, and what the lady on my intercessory prayer team was led to do, was to plead his blood. To plead his blood over ourselves, over our family, over our friends, to pray for protection. We cannot afford to live life taking things for granted. We just can't do it. We cannot do it. We are entering into a time in which it is so important that we are daily applying his blood to our lives. If we are not completely and totally reliant on his Spirit, covered by his blood, obeying his Torah, we're in for a lot of heartache and trouble and problems in the coming years. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that, and I pray and hope that it encourages you, because when we enter into dark times, we enter into scary times, we don't need to get worried. We don't need to get scared. In fact, YahShua was very clear about being anxious for nothing. All we need to do is plead his blood over our lives, plead his blood over our situations, connect with the Messiah in prayer, and plead his blood over yourself, and this will deliver you in any situation. So just remember this. Remember how powerful it is. Remember that this is the key to surviving in these times of tribulation. This is the key. There's no coincidence that the blood is a theme, like a scarlet thread that is strung all through the Word, from Genesis to Revelation. It's no coincidence at all. So as you enter into this Shabbat, as we're about to have a new moon following the Sabbath day, the 8th month of Bul, the month of rain about to begin, remember that when you're facing dire situations, the blood of YahShua is always the most important thing that you can plead over your life. Have a very blessed Shabbat. My website is www.spiritandtorah.com, and may all of you continue to abide in his love. Yah bless. Shalom.